Aloha, welcome to another episode of Love What with Audrey Weilai, where I ask my friends and mentors what non-romantic love means to them. And today, my special guest is my sister in songs, Laura Cooper Martin. Welcome, Laura.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I would say, I'm a singer-songwriter, community guide, and I'm a voice enthusiast, and I really believe in the power of music and connection. I'm the journey and community manager for the Brothers Koren, which is how we met. And I help artists and people looking to reclaim their voice write songs from all over the world, kind of feel at home in a voice positive space. I've been on my own voice journey from not knowing what the sound of my voice was 5 years ago to releasing original music. I have 4 songs out in the world, and
Boy. Oh, you need to share them with me.
and that, like, really kinda helped fuel my passion for authenticity, creativity, and helping others, feel safe to show up as, like, their whole selves. And I previously had my own podcast called the Reality Rewind Podcast with one of my best friends, where we took a deep dive into some really nostalgic old reality TV, which was really fun. And hoping to launch a different podcast later this year. So I have a love for podcasts, kind of blending, humor, heart, and storytelling and everything that I do. I just like to create spaces for people to feel seen, supported, and celebrated, whether it's music, conversations, or just goofing off about reality TV.
Thank you. Yes, we met through the Brothers course, and in the course, I do feel that you hold a safe space. And every time I attend the Zoom gatherings, I really appreciate your help and support.
Thank you. It's so nice to hear.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Brothers and also how you started working with them?
It's a story that goes back about 16 years, and it's so beautiful that your podcast is about platonic love, because this is my story with the Brothers Koren is really like the epitome of platonic love, I think. And we met over 16 years ago, right after I had graduated.
Really?
Yeah, right after I had graduated from high school. My deepest love is music in many forms, and I was in band and everything in elementary school, middle school, high school. I even had a music scholarship in college, and but that's how I saw myself as a performer in, like, instrumental music. I played the clarinet and the bass clarinet. Then I discovered live independent music pretty kinda late in high school, maybe, like, I was 16, 15, 16, and it goes back to we were leading up to how I met the brothers. I was using MySpace at the time, which was, like, the social media network of choice. Like, this is almost 20 years ago. And this local band added me on MySpace, and, at that time, my 15-year-old self thought that if you were a local band, you weren't any good. But for some reason, I accepted their MySpace friend request, and it was a local band
They
named Honor.
reached out to you.
They friended like, on MySpace, you could just, like, add people,
Okay.
and local bands did that at the time. They looked for local people and just added them to build a following. And it worked. I accepted their request, and I life as I know it is kinda wasn't the same after that point. I So I added them, and then eventually went back to their profile and listened to their music, and I my DNA changed. It was like
My goodness.
I felt so seen in that music, but I was so young, and I didn't know the difference between a small independent band who was local versus, like, the current pop stars and whoever was popular at the time. I fell in love with the world of, like, live independent music. I went to see this local band in DC a few times when I was in high school. I met a few of their fans and really started to form my own, like, sense of community around this, like, mutual love of this band, which was the first time I ever made friends and had a community that wasn't like people I went to school with. not to poo-poo high school friendships, because some of them are still my best friends to this day, but I mean, like, for my whole life up until that point, my friends were like, and the connections that I made were just who I was geographically close to.
Cool.
Yeah, so this was the first community and, like, group of friends that I had that was through, like, a shared love that wasn't by convenience or location. And so one of those friends that I made, fast forward to a few months, I graduated from high school, and she invited me to go to a concert here in Northern Virginia. Another music friend of hers had invited her. It was to see a band open up for this guy named Ryan Cabrera. And Ryan Cabrera was really popular when I was in like middle school, early high school. He had some popular songs and I knew who he was. I didn't know who the opening band was. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go to that. So I went to that show with my friend and I didn't know anything about the opener. And the opener was this band called The Kin, which was
Yes.
Isaac and Torald's old band. And I was just kind of hooked. I was like, oh my gosh. I still have a picture of when we first met from that
That
first
is
night.
so sweet.
So it's in like the Facebook archives and stuff. I was really in love with live music at that point in my life. If there were I had a small roster of bands that I kind of religiously followed around the country. I I would I would drive overnight, I would take trains, and I would fly around. I don't know how I had the energy or the money to do all of it, but I did. And it was when I was in college, and they were one of those bands that I really, really loved. We kind of stayed in each other's orbit. My college journey that's a whole other story, but, um, I didn't really get a chance to really go away and have a fulfilling experience. So for my master's degree, I moved as far away as I could, and I went to California, for a variety of reasons. That I went to University of Southern California in Los Angeles, and Isaac and Torald, the Brothers Koren, had moved to LA about a year before I did, and so they were in
Okay.
California, I was in California, and then we ended up reconnecting when I lived out there, and then I ended up moving back here to the East Coast, and we reconnected right before the pandemic, and on a music cruise. It's another, place of community that I is really important to me, and, it's called the Rock Boat, and they were on the same cruise that I was. So we reconnected there. It was like 2 months before COVID, and January of 2020, which is like an eerie time. So I got very familiar with their work in the world again. I had this like kinda nudge to maybe pursue doing their deeper work with them. So the pandemic happened, and I think for many people, stuff started to come to the surface about.
Totally.
Yeah, and there was, like, some healing work that I had really and stuff that I had just shoved to the back burner and not dealt with for a couple years, and that started to just get come to the surface at the beginning part of the pandemic, and some of it was stuff related to my voice, and the Brothers Koren, they are, um, you know, voice leaders, and they really believe in the power of the voice and reclaiming your voice, not just through singing, which is their medium, but just in
Mm.
every part of your life. And that was some of the stuff that was coming up for me. I could tell that I wasn't using my voice as much as I could at work. My day job is in academia, and which I still have.
Yes.
I had gotten kind of a promotion, and so I was working with people at the college who were deans and like directors, and I was this like little advisor, but I had to use my voice to advocate for what I thought was best for students and everything. And that was really hard. And I was like, this shouldn't be this hard. And just like in other like relationships and everything. And I knew that they did this work around the voice and through their flagship program called the Songwriter's Journey. And I was really interested, but I resisted at first. I was like, that's too much time, too much money, too much, all the things that we tell ourselves when
Yes.
we're about to like step into something that could be really beneficial for us. So I really resisted. And then at some point during a few months into the pandemic, they had like an all day like Zoom-a-thon thing. It was like literally 9 hours. I don't think we'd ever.
9
It was
hours.
9 hours. I don't think we would do something like this now. messaged them and I was just like, "Oh, I'm excited for this event. I think it'll help me with my own voice." I believe it was Isaac who can't resist a subtle invitation. He was like, "Well, we should talk about that." And I'm like, "He's"
Yes, it sounds like Isaac.
Yes,
Even though I don't know them very well.
that is 100% Isaac, and, he's the older of these 2 brothers that we're talking about, and I was like, "Okay, if you really want to, I guess so." And so we had a conversation, and I didn't have a good enough reason to say no to doing the songwriter's journey with them. So it's their flagship program, which I now have the privilege of leading people through, but it was for me, it was not so much about the singing part, and I didn't really have aspirations to be a singer, and I wasn't really planning to release my own music, but life happened to me right before the songwriters. I said yes about a month before the program started, and my dad, who, just side note, is the reason I love music,
Hmm.
he, uh, he passed away semi unexpectedly right before the journey began. So that
Mm.
was another piece of this journey, and that was, so that was grief I was feeling in real time. And
Yes.
when I talk about this journey now, kind of looking back on it, at the time I was feeling things and in real time as they were happening. Whereas you see other people go through this journey now and they sometimes have to dig real deep to get to the stuff that really hasn't been expressed. I didn't have that experience and because this stuff was right there. So I went through that program. It was really healing, but yeah, not about singing. But it was it was transformational and it really helped me with my voice because I started saying no to things at work when I normally would have said yes. I started to kind of advocate for myself and stick up for myself. I'm a chronic people pleaser. And so I started to kind of reclaim some of that. And I credit it to doing this work. So I recorded in May of 2021 and I did end up releasing my songs kind of as a wish from my dad
Yes.
before he passed away. I got a chance to tell him about the songwriter's journey, and
Mm.
my dad was a musician, he was in bands when he was in like, rock bands when he was in high school, and loved live music with me, so when I discovered this love of, like, independent live music, he was right alongside me. He took me to some of those early shows, um, and went to shows with me, and one of them was to see The Kin, Isaac and Torald's old band.
My goodness.
And so he knew who they were, and I told him who they were. I explained this whole journey, and the part he got fixated on was, "You're gonna get to record a song in a recording studio with yeah, cool." And I'm like, "Well, yes, but dad, there's this whole other journey before we get there." And he was like, "Oh, okay."
Eyes
So
on the prize.
right, and he was like, "So your song would be on iTunes and stuff?" And it kinda caught me off guard because, like, right until that moment, I wasn't planning to release any of my music. Wasn't doing this for any accolades. I'm not trying to make money from this. I'm just doing this for myself. Why do I need to put it online? But he caught me so off guard in that moment. I just sort of was like, sure. Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, well, I would be the first person to buy your song, which meant a lot. But then 2 weeks later, he passed away. So I was,
Mm.
shit, I have to carry this out for him. And so I did, and I released my music and it was really great. But then I could tell that the brothers were, Isaac and Torald were getting really busy. And I sensed that they needed some more help.
Yes.
And my day job in academia is as a virtual academic advisor. By day, I work with people from kind of all walks of life who want to change their life and their circumstances. In that case, through education, but it's similar with self transformation work or self development. People want to change their life or their circumstances in some way. And I am pretty good at figuring out what people want to do.
That's
Or
such a gift.
thank you. Or it's the opposite where they know exactly what they wanna do and I help them make that happen. So I thought I could bring this skill set to my work with the brothers, and I reached out to them, just was like, "Hey, I can tell you guys are really busy. If you need help, this is how I think I can help you." And they were like,
They say yes.
yeah, they said yes, and I've been working for them for about 4 years now. When I started was Journey Guide.
Okay.
I I had
What?
basic I know, it's kinda woo-woo. They liked it, of course.
I like
Uh,
it too. It's just I've never heard of it.
well, no, it's not a normal job title. And, 'cause, I started this working with them as just basically having conversations with people who wanted to do their work but weren't sure where to start because they were starting to have more programs and offerings and just with their schedule weren't able to have those initial conversations with everybody, so they really needed some help in that, and that was really exciting. I still have my day job with the college, but it is like every other moment is doing this work with the brothers. I run all of their group programs now. I still have those first conversations with a lot of people. I help our artist clients at stage 10.
Stage 10? What is
Stage
stage
10.
10?
Stage 10 of the songwriter's journey is sharing and celebrating. So when I went through the process of releasing my music, not to throw my bosses under the bus, but I don't think they would care. They're really talented at like stages 1 through 9. Stage 10 at like how to put your song on Spotify and stuff like that. Not so great. And I remember when I was going through that stage myself, I was like, I think I have it all figured out, but just tell me the website to use so I don't get scammed. They told me the website to use. I was like, okay, great. And then I figured everything else out myself. And then pretty quickly after I started working for them, they're like, do you want to take over stage 10? So basically, I guide people through the gauntlet of sharing and celebrating, which for some people are really excited to just dive right in. And for some, I really have to virtually hold their hands through that process. And it was just, I mean,
It sounds really scary to
it
go
is,
from committing to this program and go through this
yeah,
healing journey and then releasing something into the world.
yeah, yeah, it's
How was
terrifying.
it like for you?
I honestly that's why I was so shocked because I enjoyed it so much more. So I am not the kind of creative where I get, like, the Brothers Koren would call it downloads. I don't have song ideas that come to me. I don't write poetry. I don't paint. I don't draw. I don't doodle, like, none of that stuff. And so I just assumed for a long time I was not a creative person, but I am a creative person when I have to execute something and I know
Mhm.
what to do. When I knew I had to, like, do my artwork for my songs, I really enjoyed that process. When I had to write lyrics for my songs, I got really into that because I, like, knew what I was working with. I had a deadline. I had all the things. I made that happen. And, like, just recently, we are enrolling for our new course, which who knows if it's already started by the time this podcast comes out, but the last minute, they were like, "Could you make a landing page for that course?" And I was like, "Yes." I had all the parameters, and I just, like, loved that process. So releasing my music was a and I didn't really do but I didn't do it for me. I mean, I really was doing it for my dad, and
Mhm.
the first song I released is really a song about his story and his voice and, parts of his life that he was never able to voice while he was alive. So, I was really doing it for him. The next 3 songs were for me. It's scary, but I had more fun with it than I thought, and so I try to bring that element of fun with our clients and, you know, get them excited. I had a session not too long ago, a couple months ago with a group that's finishing the songwriter's journey. People came into the session kinda nervous, and then at the end, one person was like, "I'm so excited for this now, I can do this," and I'm like, "Yes." So, it's a yes, that's a lot of what I do. That's the really long story of how I got involved with the Brothers Koren.
As I get to know them a little bit more and their different programs, I have more appreciation of the work you do
Thank
because
you.
of people like you. They're more successful in reaching out and help others around the world. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so funny. I've never had visions or dreams of being an entrepreneur myself. I still don't. Working for 2 is kinda as close to that edge as I want. It's been such a gift to help shape this community and build relationships within this community. I mean, like, you and I are doing this podcast right now, like, because of that community, which is, like, so freaking cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah, from, across the world. So, like, which is amazing. And yeah, there's all these relationships with our clients and people who I've never met. I've seen their head and their shoulders for years, but, like, they're some of the most, like, visible people in my day-to-day life because they're such a deep part of our community. So it's really cool.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
have two questions. One is, what's your father's name?
His name was John.
Yes.
And it's funny, my parents, when they got married, were a bit ahead of the time, and my mom wanted to have the same last name as her husband, so but she wouldn't change her name fully. She said if she was gonna change her name, he had to change his name. So they
I
hyphenated
love it.
so they hyphenated their names. This is the late '80s, this was not a thing that people did. So they hyphenated their names. So for my whole life, my dad was John Cooper Martin, and then my parents got divorced a few years before he passed away. He dropped the Martin part of his name because he was always John Cooper. So at the end of his life, he was John Cooper, but when I think of him, he was John Cooper Martin.
What's one really fond memory you have with your father?
He and I had a complicated relationship, which is not a unique story. When the years were good, they were really good. And one of my favorite memories is he took me to a lot of concerts, but he took me to my first concert, which at the time I knew it was awesome, but like looking back on it, 25 years later, I realized like how incredible that was. So I grew up in the '90s. I was born in '91. So like I was which I was a kid when, like, the peak, like, not late '90s, early 2000s, early aughts pop. So I was obsessed with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and, like, Pink and Mandy Moore and NSYNC, all these, like, really popular, like, pop artists. Britney Spears was probably my favorite for a long time. Britney Spears and NSYNC, they always were kind of duking it out, but Britney Spears always sort of had the edge, and we were living in upstate New York at the time and she was going on tour, and she was playing in Albany, New York at the Pepsi Arena, and that was about 2 hours from where we lived, and she was playing on a Tuesday night, and my dad bought the tickets and drove me to Albany, New York on a Tuesday night to see Britney Spears when I was 8 years
Oh
old.
my goodness.
Who does that? Who drives their kid 2 hours on a school night to go to a concert of their favorite artist when they were, like, 8
For
years
an
old? For
8-year-old, yes.
eight-year-old, I was 8 years old, and when it was good, we did stuff like that. Like, the night that he saw The Kid, I think the Brothers' old band, we drove down to Richmond, Virginia, which was about 2 hours away, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night to see them open for somebody else. So, stuff like that was the best.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
So, aside from romantic love, what is love to you?
Love to me is chosen family, chosen connection. Love should be unconditional. Love is community. Love is holding space. Love is showing up. To quote one of my favorite bands, it's not the Kin, not the Brothers Koren. It's a band called Red, White, and Blue. So much of love is just showing up, and that I think is what it is showing up. Whether that is with my family, friends, my clients, with anyone is showing up.
To be there with them doesn't matter what moment in their life is.
Exactly, yeah, and meet them where they are. Going back to my work, we had a client. It's actually so serendipitous we're recording this podcast now because I had a call with a client who's in stage 10. He did an album with the brothers, and we got on and he was really ready to release his first song, and I could tell that he was really afraid of, like, doing the steps of, like, uploading the file and uploading the artwork and doing the logical steps, and I was like, "Look, I'll sit with you, like, on Zoom, and you share your screen, and we'll go through it step by step together," which I don't always do for everybody because most people, that's not where they're at. And literally just like 20 minutes before we got on this call, I got a knock at my door and he had sent me flowers for like
What?
for like he's like, "We did it!" Like, and for going through that process with him, which I was not expecting at all. I was like, um
That is so sweet.
and think of like friends, people who just show up, or like I remember when my dad died, like the
Mm.
people who just showed up. It was during COVID, so it was a little awkward, but yeah, I had coworkers, who also who sent me that was another time I got one of the other times I got flowers in my life was, like, I had coworkers who I didn't really wouldn't put them in the love box, but they showed up at a time that was really hard for me. The friend, she made a lasagna and drove an hour and dropped it off, and I remember that time, even though it was, like, the pandemic and I couldn't physically be with anybody, I didn't feel alone because I felt like that unconditional love. I felt that so much more in platonic, non-romantic love than I have in romantic love.
Yeah, I definitely treasure friendship so much.
Me too.
Yes. And where does music come in? Because you mentioned the power of music and connection, and how does that play into love?
Music to me has served, been a couple of spaces for me, there's, the power of, like, hearing music and, like, hearing yourself reflected back in, like, another artist's words or their music and, like, feeling seen in someone else's work. So I remember not feeling alone, when I was a, angsty, heartbroken teenager hearing that band Honor by August, hearing this, like, breakup song that they had written because these were, like, angsty guys in their 20s, so but I remember feeling so seen at that time. So that is a really beautiful part of music. And then the way it's come through in my life has given me so much more opportunity for love and connection and community through going to concerts and meeting other fans and finding connection and building a relationship together and building friendships based around something we love. Those becoming really true friendships. The friend who I talked about who brought me the lasagna after my dad died, I met her in 2010 at a Christmas rock concert here in Virginia. So she's one of my very best friends. That's been this beautiful part of music that maybe is more unique to me since I really devoted a lot of time and energy into, like, following these bands and going on these music cruises and everything. It brought me, like, love and community and friendship and joy. My life is just so much more because of that, and I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you had that, like, love for music not been there.
I'm so glad connected.
You too.
There's a lot of talk about authenticity, and I see there's a spectrum of some people just are all about authenticity, and there are people like Seth Godin that says, well, if we go to a Jay-Z's concert, we really don't want him to be authentic.
Mhm.
Or if we check into a hotel, we expect a clean space, not for housekeeping to feel authentic if they had a bad day. Where are you on that spectrum? And when it comes to musicians writing songs and performing, how is authenticity important?
What a what a question. Authenticity is so hard because we live in a culture, I think, even now more than ever, there's TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, or just all of these curated spaces where we are maybe only bringing parts of ourselves, or we're curating what people will see of us. It's tricky. Even though I do like my workspaces, I still only show part of myself. It's not intentional, but it just is how it happens, which is partly why I had my podcast last year. And that was really cool because it felt like I had a space for this other authentic part of me where I'm really snarky and funny and like on reality TV. It was an appropriate space for that to live and it felt authentic. But when I show up to sessions with clients or I'm helping the brothers with something or leading a Zoom call or whatever, that I'm authentic in that moment. Like you're getting is me. It's not all of me all the time. That's what's so interesting about authenticity is like we can still be honest about ourselves. I don't know if there's any space except maybe when I'm alone where everybody sees all of me. Even with my mother, who's like the person who knows me better than anyone on this planet. She sees me like I'm her daughter when I'm with her and I'm her friend. And that's real. And I'm real with her. And I can, she knows my deepest, darkest secrets and stuff. And so she's seen the real me, but she doesn't see everything because there's parts of my life that she's not in. Like she's not there when I'm advising a student at the college. And she does come sometimes to the brothers, like, free events and, like, which is really
Hi,
sweet.
mom.
Yeah, she might watch this podcast. She is not quite as crass as me, so she didn't always listen to my reality TV podcast. And I think being okay with that, there's spaces where you are showing part of yourself that is true, but it might not be every single part of you. You might not always be able to have that same part expressed in every other part of your life, just because that's how I found it for me. So that's how I think about authenticity.
I really love animals, and part of the reason this podcast came to life was because the animals kept on pushing me. It sounds really weird, but they
Yeah.
kept on encouraging me to do this because for me, it's deeply uncomfortable to be on
Mm.
camera and also releasing something to the public. And the animals told me, get out of the way. It's not about you. It's important for you to do this work, be an instrument. And of course, through taking the brothers class with Eileen McCusick, they gave me the courage to start this podcast.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes. And with animals, when I observe them, it doesn't matter if there are animal companions at home or in the wild, they're authentic.
Yeah.
And I find that really inspirational because they are in the moment.
Yeah.
Just for fun, if you could be an animal for a day or another form in nature, who or what would you choose and why?
I love that question. I love animals too, and I love that it reminded me though of this meme I saw, and it's silly goose doesn't know what capitalism is, doesn't know what bills are. He's just like living his life. And I love that about they're so pure. They don't know about Instagram, they don't know about TikTok followers, like they don't know about any of that stuff. They're just them. Just so sweet. But I love animals too. And the animal that I've had a connection to my whole life, which I can't explain it, but I love pigs. I've loved pigs forever. I have a flying pig tattoo, which you can't there it is. And, like, my necklace is a flying pig, and I have pigs all around my house.
My Chinese zodiac is the pig. I think they're so smart.
They're chonky, which I'm plus size, bigger gal. So, like, the chonkiness of pigs, I feel seen in that. They, like, lay around and, like, goof off, which I like to do too, but they're so smart. They are underestimated for how smart they are. Like, people don't automatically think that pigs are these super smart animals, and they are so smart. So and I love that about them, and, yeah, I've always loved, like, the idea of the flying pig. My tattoo that I have is a flying pig, but it has balloons instead of wings, and I got it right before I moved to California to do this seemingly impossible thing that I thought I couldn't do. So it's just like my way of presenting doing things I thought I couldn't do, and, like, the idea of a flying pig is impossible, but this pig with the balloons found out how to fly anyway, figuring out how to do what you want despite your circumstance. I would be a flying pig with balloons if I was an animal.
Where where would you fly to?
I would fly to go see loved ones around the world. I would fly to places I couldn't go to, just take advantage of flight without having to, like, pay for airline tickets. It'd be great.
I love that. Is there anything exciting that you're working on?
A lot of my work is supporting the Brothers Koren, so we always have things cooking, which is really nice. I get to kinda help inform what we do, so there's parts of me in what they do. I will hopefully be launching another podcast with my friend who I did Reality Rewind with later this year, early next year. I won't spoil too much because 'cause we're planning to be anonymous, so if you find it when it comes out, enjoy, which is another authentic part of me that I haven't really gotten to express. So I'm excited to dive into that when our lives calm down a little bit. I'm working on some new music with the brothers after a couple years. So hopefully we'll have new music out at some point.
I feel intrigued, so do keep me posted.
I will. Thank you,
Yeah.
Audrey.
My favorite part of these conversations is I ask the guests to give us a gift, which is leave a question for me or the viewers to contemplate on. Do you have a question for us?
My question is, what is the one thing that you want to do in your life? that's just for you, that's not about monetizing, that's not about, hustling. Like what is the one thing that you want to do that you haven't done? And is there a way to make that happen? And if it's writing original song, hit me up. I am also just a big believer and like an advocate for people who have these creative dreams or goals and maybe don't necessarily want to make a career out of that. That is perfectly okay. And I tell this to my students when I work for my work at the college. It is perfectly okay to have a job that pays your bills, that allows you the freedom, financial time, whatever, to go do the things that you enjoy that you don't have to worry about making money at, which I've tried to adopt for myself. I'm able to really deeply enjoy my art because I'm not worried about how it pays the bills. So if you're listening to this and you have a job that pays your bills, congratulations. That's incredible. What is something you can do to bring you some joy that you can do just for the sake of joy and for fun that you don't have to worry about making money from? So that's my question.
Thank you so much. Thank
There you
you.
go. Thank you, Audrey. This was so much fun.
And how can people find your work or learn more about you?
I'm on Instagram, laura.coopermartin on Instagram. That's probably where I'm most active socially. So a lot of my work is is in working with the Brothers Koren. So their website is brotherskoren.com. If you reach out to them, you will get a response from me. So
That's right.
I'm the first one that responds. So yeah, that's a huge part of my life and my world that I have a hand in kind of helping bring to life. So come join their world. You'll be part of my world. And then my music. So I've released 4 songs. It's anywhere you can stream music, Spotify, Apple, Tidal, wherever. And then you might find my anonymous podcast whenever it comes out. I won't be announcing that because it's anonymous, but
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Laura. And
thank you,
thank you
Audrey. This was
for,
such a blessing.
yeah, being open and vulnerable and truthful.
I appreciate the conversation and thank you. Bye.